All right, so we were talking about it a little bit earlier, but we were talking about the pitching. What should the Padres do? Should they implement this 6-man rotation? Should they keep the 5-man rotation? And if you guys have been following us for a while, you know that we've been like pretty big advocates of having a 6-man rotation. However, we saw the Dinelson Lamet, Ryan Weathers piggyback, and it was pretty nice. So now we're kind of up in the air on it. So I'll let you start out, Isaac. What do you think this pitching staff should look like? Should it be a 5-man? Should it be a 6-man? And either way, how should it kind of shape out? What do you want these starters to look like?
I think come July, I'd be perfectly fine with the 6-man rotation, giving Lamet and Weathers their own starts. But right now, considering, Nelson Lamet's still trying to recover from, his injury from 2020, and then he got re-injured again in his first start back, I think the perfect thing to do is to still piggyback him with Ryan Weathers. Let them go a total of 6 or 7 innings because Yu's going to be our number one, and Yu's probably going to go at least at the very minimum 5. And that's like a mediocre start for you, which is awesome. And then number 2 is obviously Blake Snell. As we see right now, we never know what we're going to get from Blake Snell. It's really I don't even know what to expect ever. We can hope for 6, but we're expecting 4. Musgrove on a good day will go 6 or 7. On a decent day, will probably go 4 or 5. And what this is all leading up to me, like for me, what I'm trying to say is that if these guys are only going, let's say Weathers goes 4, the bullpen has to throw the rest of the game. And then you have Lamet going probably 3 or 4. The bullpen has to throw the rest of the game again. Then what? Then you have Darvish, who's going to give the bullpen a break. But then you have Blake Snell, who's either going to tax the bullpen or save the bullpen. You never know. And then Musgrove again. He's probably going to have a good outing. But then you have Chris Paddock, who, yes, he's come around really good recently. I've been a huge fan of Chris Paddock, but I will openly admit this streak can snap anytime, where he may go 1, 2, or 3 innings, maybe 4, and then the bullpen's taxed again. And we talked about it earlier. The bullpen is not far behind in innings from the starters. The bullpen's thrown the most amount of innings in the MLB, and I feel like it's by far. And my whole thing is I don't want to tax the bullpen in May. If we're going to tax the bullpen, let it be later in the year. But that's just my whole thing on it. And obviously we were big advocates of the 6-man rotation, but now we're kind of backtracking because why are you gonna try and change something that's not broken? The Lamet and Weathers piggyback has been lights out. It has been the best thing other than you that I have seen so far from this pitching staff. So I want to keep it. Obviously we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, so we can't speak greatly on it, but that's my take on it.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of information that we don't have, that the front office does, and Jay Stingler does. But from our perspective, there's no reason to do the 6-man rotation right now. If 2 of your guys can't make it past 5 innings, and 2 of your starters are very hit and miss, like, hey, Musgrove can be great, and he can go 6 to 7 innings when he's on. But we've seen it when he struggles with his location. He's really like 4 to 5 innings, but it's really much closer to 4. So, and then Snell is Snell. There's not really a good way to describe him as of right now. He's just very inconsistent. I'll put it as that. But having Weathers and Lamet piggyback each other, you're then going lefty righty, 2 guys that probably will sit mid 90s, have some pretty good off speed, but they're opposite of each other still. And then if you wanted to continue to not tax the bullpen, you could do that. And then you could probably piggyback Chris Paddock and Miggy Diaz, because Miggy Diaz has come around in a big way. I don't know if you guys remember when he first came into the league, he was that Rule 5 draft pick, and he sort of never really made a name for himself. He was always like, hey, he struggles with the command. He'll get his strikeouts, but he really struggles with commands, walks people, and then, he'll throw a fastball down the middle, and oh my God, it's chaos from there on out. I'm really impressed with what he's shown so far. And he's shown that he can go, maybe that 3 or 4 innings that we need after a guy like Lamet will pitch or Weathers will pitch. So what I'm thinking we do now is keep our first 3, perfectly fine. because Snell has the ability to go past 6 when he's not in his own head and trying to strike everybody out. You never know what's going to happen with Chris Paddock. So I think we let Chris Paddock go 5 and maybe the 6th inning, depending on how the game's going. And then you throw Miggy Diaz the rest of the game. And then you let Weathers go 4, and then you go Lamet go 4 or 5, or switch it depending on their pitch count. And then you maybe have a closer go out the rest of the game. You either let them both go 4, one go 5, one go 4, and then have one close out the game. You save the bullpen a ton those last 2 games, minimize the pitchers. And that way, you know what? This may be the most sustainable way to keep all the pitchers healthy, keep them both lengthened out for, hey, you know what? This guy's pitching really well at the end of the year. You know what? We're going to go with this guy as we're going to go with these guys for our postseason roster. You know what? Having Lamet being really healthy for the end of the year, that changes the whole thing, because we saw what happened last year when Lamet went out and we had those bullpen days. You never knew what you were going to get, and it was really tough to watch. And you know what? Jay Stingler did manage one hell of a game, or 2 hell of a games with the whole bullpen, but the chances are you go into October missing one of your key starters, it's not a good look. And we've seen it happen, and we know what happens to teams that lose their starters. So, or even just their pitchers in general. So I'd rather just do the 5-man right now.
So I was kind of thinking about this because I definitely like the 5-man right now just because it's been working. But I just kind of, we're talking about, hey, we don't know what's going on with a lot of these guys. We don't know, how much they're supposed to get stretched out, what their kind of plan is with the usage. And what I'm thinking is there's a chance that maybe they want to give Darvish a couple of days off. Maybe they want to give Snell a couple of days off. Same with Musgrove. We've seen him go deep into a few games. If they want to give them an extra day of rest and that's why they want to implement the 6-man rotation, I think that's good. But I think they should do it for a certain period of time and then go revisit that 5 to keep the guys like Ryan Weathers, Dinelson Lamet, and Chris Paddock as well. Keep his arm fresh as well. I mean, we've seen he was on a pitch count his rookie year. We've seen them be careful with him. So I don't have an issue if they're doing that. I think it's smart to not really stretch out those guys, especially not like past 6 or past, let's say, 90 pitches. Because I know that we had Ryan Weathers came out to in that Brewers series, and he had 78 pitches, and they pulled him after 4. Probably around 80 pitches where they wanted to pull him, so that's why it worked out. If you have a guy that's throwing way lower, it's fine to pitch him deep in the game, but we just don't want to see these pitch counts get really high, and don't want to see the bullpen taxed a ton either. So it's kind of hard to figure out how do you do that, how do you manage that, and if it's going to be for a certain period of time where the bullpen is going to get a little bit overtaxed and then it's going to calm down, I get that. But I'm just concerned that it's going to come down to October and either the starters like Dinelson Lamet or Ryan Weathers have been used too much, and they're like trying to make them stretch out when they shouldn't be to have this 6-man rotation, and then it doesn't work. And I think that's the issue. Also, the other thing, just you got to win ball games, and I think having Ryan Weathers and Dinelson Lamet on the same day, I think that gives you an amazing chance to win on that day, and it also gives the bullpen a rest if those guys can go 4 and then 3 or 4 and 4. I mean, that's 7-8 innings. So I think if you're going to bounce back and forth, I think that's a good idea. But that's the big question is like, what are they going to do? What is it going to look like in a little bit? So I think it's kind of up. It's like a to be determined right now because we don't really know why they're doing it or what's the reasoning behind it. But I think that having Ryan Weathers and Dinelson Lamet on the same day is the most optimal thing to do, and I think it's the best way to win. And I also think I want to see those guys in the postseason. I think either of them are top. Okay, how confident are you guys in those two? Because I think you said it, Isaac. That combo is the second best part of the rotation, and Musgrove has been amazing, but those two back to back is terrifying for any opposing lineup. So I don't know. I just think that it's so lights out when those two come up, and I just liked it a lot. And I feel the same way. Don't fix what isn't broken. But anything else you guys kind of want to add on that?
Yeah, I just kind of want to add to what you were saying. You go, Ryan Weathers 3 or 4 innings. Let's say Ryan Weathers and Dinelson Lamet throw a combined 7. Then you have either Pomeranz when he's healthy, Pagan, Big Timmy Hill, that's my guy. And then you have Mark Melancon, the guy who's been the best closer in baseball so far coming in. You could chalk that one up as a W. And now, you're going to have Ryan Weathers throwing 4, and then you have Chris Matt coming after him. And I'm not saying Chris Matt's a bad pitcher, but he's not exactly a guy I'm confident in with a piggyback. And then you have, I don't know what's going to happen with Dinelson Lamet tomorrow. I mean, that's to be determined. I'm assuming they're going to do some sort of piggyback with someone. I'm not sure. But this whole, whenever Lamet and Weathers are on the mound, if it was a playoff game and those two were going to be on the bump, let's say it's game 7 of a World Series, and it was going to be, Ryan Weathers, Dinelson Lamet, I'm chalking that one up to a W. And I know Ryan Weathers is only a rookie. Maybe that's a big-time moment for him. But I'm just that confident in that piggyback right now, and I think down the road I'm perfectly fine with the 6-man rotation if Dinelson Lamet is healthy. But the point throughout the whole season is going to be keeping Dinelson Lamet healthy. We saw he was contending for Cy Young last year. So, I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I wish we knew more, because then we could give more information, give more insight on this. But that's all I got.
And then, Chase, anything else you wanted to add or no? All right, well, I think it's going to do it for just that pitching conversation. Definitely interesting, and anyone listening too, let us know what you think it should look like, and give us your 1 through 5 or 1 through 6 in the comments. Definitely want to see what that looks like. But I mean, I think we're all big advocates of the Weathers-Lamet combo. I think that's one of the nastiest things you can do to an opposing lineup. So I'll always like seeing that. Also, we've seen that just utilized for some other organizations like Tampa Bay Rays, and they've been really successful with implementing that type of thing. So at the end of the day, got to keep Dinelson Lamet healthy, got to keep Ryan Weathers healthy, and got to keep the bullpen healthy. So I think that's our biggest concern with going with the 6-man rotation right now.